what it's for. Oh, hello.
We forgot to
We're
forgot to
live.
stage my hotel room this
Good morning. Tracy is trying to join us. She has a new laptop, so she's having technical difficulties. So we'll see if she pops in. We are live. I think we'll actually go live next Saturday too, and then because Christmas, a couple days before Christmas. So I'm thinking about doing the show every Saturday morning again. So I'd love to hear if anybody has an opinion about that. I'd love to hear it in the comments. I kind of miss doing the show, so I'm thinking that we might go live, and then if the girls want to join me, that's fine, and if they don't, that's okay too. So let people catch up with that we're live and online. We did we're going to talk about this workbook, which I think is a great, that 2024 blueprint. And oh, there's Tracy. Okay.
On my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on. We got you. Okay, there's Tracy. So the blueprint workbook is available. So if you go to follow the link on the bottom, if you go to applyhappiness.com, that takes you to my master site. Good morning, Red Betty. Nice to see you. Okay, follow the link on the bottom, applyhappiness.com. And then in the menu section, when you get to my main site, there's a tab called free stuff. And what you'll find there is the entire workbook to download for free as a PDF, and also the weekly effectiveness chart in case you guys want to play that with us going into the new year. So yeah. All right. So we'll go through some of so the workbook is just a great way to finish this year, see what there is to extract that's worth anything. And then make some plans for the new year. Good morning, ladies. For those of you that are watching that might not have caught it, okay, Red Betty, she caught it. I'm thinking about going back to doing Coffee Chat weekly. If it is impactful for you and you care and it matters, I'd love to hear that, because that will weigh heavily on my decision. Because sometimes I think nobody cares, and what does it matter anyway? That's kind of how I'm feeling these last few weeks about everything. So if you have something inspiring to say to me, I would love to hear it. I could use it, and you can drop it in the chat, in the comments. So if you'd like me to do the show every Saturday morning live again, I would love to know that. And we will go live next week, because it's a couple days before Christmas, and I think it would be good to do that. So yeah, I don't know about my ladies here, but I'll ask them in a minute. But I have had, like, pretty much since the week before Thanksgiving, it has just been, I don't know whether I'm being tested or it's just the energy. I know Mercury's retrograde now, but it only went retrograde a couple days ago. I just feel like I have been challenged and tested and over again. And yeah, it's been an interesting time. And I will say that when you know that it's time to end something or change something, and you just know that it's time, whether it's to end a relationship or a work situation or anything, that it's kind of like, it's run its course, or it's time to change it or rearrange it, and you avoid that, you will end up injured or sick, or something will happen because you are not being true to yourself. And I'm sitting in the middle of that right now. There's some work changes that I've wanted to make for quite a while, and I've been, just kind of pushing that off. And it is the time to do it now, which now I'm in the middle of doing it because I tweaked myself. And so for the last week, I have been in a lot of pain, and it's a muscular thing. It's like doesn't even matter. I just life itself is making sure that I got the message that it's time to change. Yeah. And so I was talking to a client yesterday, and I said to her, because she's also in the middle of something that she needs to change, and she's kind of slow walking the decision to change. And so I said to her, don't be me. You know, those little things when it snows and they say, don't be like Bob. Don't be like Noelle. Don't push the change. Like, don't not jump off the mountain and build the plane on the way down. Don't wait for like everything. It just won't. It's never going to be the perfect time when you know you have to change something, when you know it's time to say goodbye to something, when you know it's time to make a major shift and you don't know what the new part is. So you don't know how you're going to make up the income. You don't know what it's going to look like. And so you just keep like doing this. Something will happen and it will force your hand.
Yep.
And so I'm smart enough to know like when that's happening. And so I quickly, you know, push the change forward and the pain I was in went down by like 50%, but I am still like, I'm very much still in the effects of putting off a change that really ought to have been made sooner. And so I'm going to let the ladies kind of chime in on how they've been doing and what's going on for them. But when you have to jump off the cliff and you have to build your plane on the way down, like you can't avoid jumping off the cliff. You got to go. When it's time to go, you got to go. And when it's time to jump, you got to jump. And if you're a faithful person like I am, and God has shown you time after time that you'll be able to build the plane on the way down, then you got to jump. And sometimes, you know, you have to stop putting up with stuff that's no longer okay with you. And in my case, that's, you know, kind of what's happening. So I don't wish the disservice that your body will serve you if you don't jump. I want to save you from that if I can. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but I feel quite certain that I'm sitting in the middle of this to share it with you. And so, you know, if you are in that, it's time to jump, it's time to go, it's time to make the decision, and you'll build a plane on the way down, and so will I, and we'll figure it out. And yeah, so don't cause something catastrophic to occur because you are waiting. Life is, we have a short time here. When it's time to go, when it's time to change, when it's time to shift, do it. Trust it. Trust that whatever's coming will be far better than what you're leaving behind. Karen happens to be next to me in my squares here, so I'll ask her what she has to say first.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm going through my foot and I fell. Okay, so I know everyone probably already knows this, but I fell a couple weeks ago and it was like this very weird fall where I went like flying this way and I caught myself, and thank goodness all I did was break a foot, because it could have been a lot worse. But like I've had to sit and be really patient. It's been 3 weeks of not being able to put pressure on my foot or drive, and then it's another 4 weeks until it might even be more. But like I was telling you guys like last week or 2 weeks ago, I had all these plans and I've had to modify or cancel them. And like, you know, people are coming into town and like this was going to be my holiday season. Last year, I was alone in the holidays by my choice. And this year I was like, I'm going to do the total opposite and do this like manic, like I'm doing everything. But I just have to sit still. And like, that's been really hard for me because especially like I've been doing all the to-do list, the effectiveness game, the this, the that, the other. And I realize I'm filling my time, right? Like I'm filling in my time to avoid sitting with self. So that's what I'm doing now. And like talking with Noelle and like my unofficial but official prosperity coach is like, okay, why did I allow this to happen? What does this mean? What is it preventing? And like, it's just been a really tough time. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, every morning we're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
It's been super shitty, but I'm trying to think like, okay, what is this making me realize, or what am I sitting with self with? But it's an everyday thing. It's tough.
Has there been any like huge
Yeah, so for me, like, I'm not in, I like where I am right now, but I've been like Noelle and I are similar in the sense of like when I go, I go. And I don't think much about it,
Yeah.
but we're having these conversations yesterday and I realized like there has to be a good in between. Like don't stay, but
Yeah.
don't leave that day. Like I
Right.
would leave that day and never look back.
Exactly. Right.
So
And yeah, for me, that's the thing too. And that's what Karen and I were talking about yesterday. Like I'm a Band-Aid ripper. If I'm breaking up with you, I'm gone.
see ya.
If I'm leaving the thing, I'm out. I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'm gone. And
But I've heard a lot of people doing that.
yeah, no, me too. I've created a ton of collateral damage in my lifetime doing that.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that, for me, I hold a lot of things for a lot of people. And so the shift that I need to make has to be slow and graceful and backing up with the understanding and support of a lot of the key play like that. Like I can't just rip the Band-Aid off in this thing. And that's what's really kept me from like making this change, because I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt people and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And what I realized about myself is like, I'm a caretaker, man. I'm a fixer and a saver. And I have supported Antonio quite a bit, even in these last 3 years as he built his business. So it wasn't, I felt like I didn't have the luxury to make this change because the economics in the beginning, at least until I figure things out, are going to be far different than they've been the last 3 years. At least I think. Like, so, in order for me to say, okay, I'm ready to do this, I have to be prepared for that. So I realized how much of my life I've spent like just sucking up shit so that I can make it okay for everybody else. And so that I can like run around and make sure that everyone's taken care of instead of like really taking care of me first. And when you're a single parent, I feel like you don't really have that luxury in a way. Like I didn't, it's like I had to do whatever I didn't get child support. So I had to do whatever I had to do. And I just swore that kid was not going to grow up poor like I did. And I swore to myself that I would do whatever I had to do so that he didn't suffer at all and didn't want for anything. And, I did it. I got it done. And, I'm probably a year past the close, right? Because I supported, I just kept kind of supported. Last year at this time, I was kind of ready to make some changes. And then his like thing shifted. And then it was like, oh, shit, he's not quite ready yet. And, so I feel like how when you like stayed past the close, I feel like and so I think that, so even in October when I recognized I didn't want to go, like I just can't go another year. And I started to talk about that. I didn't make it an absolute. I didn't say to the person that I wouldn't have needed to say it to, like, as of January 1, it has to be different. I'm no longer willing to do it like this. Like, I didn't have that conversation until yesterday, after I've hurt myself seemingly. And, I've spent the last week on the sofa staring out the window and talking to Karen, just like sitting on a heating pad, like, wow, okay, I got the message. I can't avoid this. And I have to make these changes. So Tracy, I know you probably have things like this too in your life that you've seen.
Yeah. Like you said, if we don't pay attention and if we're not alert in the moment and we're not giving regard to what's happening and we don't stay quiet enough to hear what's coming and we avoid it because we think we know better or because we've done it before or we're in charge, or you create an avalanche that is unrevocable. And so to be able to sit in that space and just allow something to be different. I mean, I can only think of my move to Indiana and how everything just fell into place because I just let it go and I trusted that if that's where I'm supposed to be, it is going to line up. And there were days where it was excruciating, and there were moments where I was like, "Oh my gosh, why?" I mean, I'm like yelling in the sky to God, like, "Why? And I said, "Okay, no, just trust the process. They've got it handled. I've got this person in place. I got this person. I have this person looking out for me. I've got this. Like, I don't have to be the one to have all the answers." And how beautiful to be where I landed here in this beautiful home in this fabulous neighborhood, and I get to see my son. We get together this week and we cook, and I get to see him intersperse, and I've created some really great relationships. And I feel like this time in my life, because I was such a doer and a goer and a getter, and I was physically tired, it almost forced me to just sit quietly and be. And so now to be in the space of being, to stay in on a Friday or a Saturday night and have it be okay, to instead of going out dancing, to go into my sewing room, like it's so different, but it's the letting go, right? I always say that it's not the child that needs to let go of the apron string, it's the mother.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to let go of whatever dreams we thought we had about something, whatever illusion we put in place, or whatever the world says. You know, my mother's very, very vocal about, have I met anybody? Did you meet anybody? Have you gone? I'm like, who says it has to be like that? I choose to be home alone, writing, reading up on a book that I've got going on, or it's just different. It's so different. And the journey here was not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy. Raising my son by myself, we've shared before, but it's just being diligent and pressing forward. And yeah, I'm not sure what else.
It's when I moved here to Vermont was the same thing. I feel like in a lot of ways I'm like a phoenix, right? And I think that's because I wouldn't be a good teacher if I wasn't. So I feel like I've lived, I don't know, man, 9 or 10 lifetimes, and every effing time I think, okay, this is the trajectory and now we're good. And then, it's been like 6 years in this particular trajectory, and it's like, shit, it's time to burn it down again. And, and I'm like, wow, okay. So, and then every time around, it's a little easier, because the last time around was like 2016, 17. Tracy was right there for the front seat on that one. There were days when I had $5 in the bank. I went from, a 6-figure income to like, I jumped off the cliff. This time, I think it will be a little bit easier. And if it isn't, I'm prepared. So it's like, whatever. I know how to live through that. I did it already. And but every time around, I always say we're not like, it's around, but it's around, the old slinkies when you pulled them up, right? And it spiraled, but it was up. So it's like we go around and then we go up, and then we go around and then we go up, and then we go around and then we go up. So I can see very much that, it's last time it was here, now we're around and we're here, and I'm sure in another 6 years, I'll be saying to you guys, here we are again. It's time to go around again.
And it can be scary to go of what we know, right? You mentioned that, like when something's comfortable and it's what we know and it's how we've been and it works, right? Even though we have a dream or an idea of something different, it can be scary to let go of what you know.
Honestly, it's almost scarier to, like, in this particular case, to not, right?
Right.
Betty's saying is a movie called The Holiday with Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet. Okay, I've never seen that one. Maybe I should see it. Sometimes it's like, it's more detrimental to stay in what's comfortable,
yes,
and familiar than it is to just make the shift.
Yes.
Because you don't realize how much of your aliveness is getting eroded off every day.
So
and just since I decided, even though I don't know how the shift is going to happen and what, just since I decided the shift is necessary, and I made the person that I need to speak to is traveling. So I texted and said, here's, as of January 1, I need to, I'm done. We need to shift. Right. And so then like I said, 50% of the pain from what's going on went away yesterday, after I just made that. And I was on the phone with Karen when those texts were going back and forth. And
Yep.
I'm so relieved, like how I'm feeling, like I didn't realize how much I was sucking up until I let go of it and just went, like, if I fall off the cliff, I'll figure it out. Like, what, once I just said, whatever it is, the economics may go to half, they could go to a quarter. There might be a way for them not to get that impact. Like, I don't know. I just knew that when I said it was time to shift, I have to be prepared that all of that could go away, because people tend to want me to do what they want me to do. When I am running other things, like, people count on me, and they don't like it when, like, they want me to just do that.
Yes.
And when I don't want to do that anymore, because I faced this already when I made a shift, 6 years ago, like, it doesn't always go over well, because I take care. When I'm sitting in a seat, I'm holding a lot of shit. And I think people take that for granted, and I let them, because I don't speak up, because and I know that's probably hard to believe about me, but, like, I just try to, it's from growing up with alcoholics, right? When I was growing up, people were drinking too much, and they were, like, beating the shit out of each other at holiday events and stuff. And I was, like, running around trying to make everything okay. And then my mom was, like, a great coach and a great teacher, but the whole momming thing was not really, like, in place, the whole nurturing momming thing. So I was, like, I became that, and I mothered her. And I mothered my grandmother, and and then I mother everybody and everything. And so, what Tracy's saying, like, the change, sometimes yes, it's uncomfortable to, make that shift or cause yourself seemingly a discomfort, but it's actually more detrimental to you to stay in the thing that no longer suits you. And Catherine Ponder talks a lot about this in prosperity. This is a big piece of prosperity work, because everything is always changing and shifting. And there's a chemicalization process that you have to go through to let go of what's old and see and get into and step into the new. And that chemicalization process is where I've been sitting in the last couple of weeks. Right. And and Karen too, it's not fun in here. It's like, right, for the two of us, it happens to be physically painful, and it's, uncomfortable. And I don't know how, everyone keeps asking me, well, then what will be next? And what, like, I don't know. Here's what I know. And I started filling out this workbook, right? The first question is, what do you want? And I thought, I want to do impactful work. That's what I want. I don't know how that all shakes out, right? Yep. I've been studying transformational work since I was 12 years old. I'm an anomaly out there in the world right now, because, a lot of people that are doing work like this came to it at 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever. I came to it at 12. So the older I get, the more rare I will become for the amount of years that I have practiced. And I truly believe that the generations that are coming up behind us, they're going to need a lot of assistance, because their ability to handle and manage soft skills and things like that is low, right, from what I've seen. And so it's important. It's going to be important, right? So whatever's next, I feel like is going to be important. And as far as this show goes and the audience and you guys, like, we would like to figure out what to really do to get you guys engaged. I think maybe it's like virtual events at a low dollar amount, like $79 for a ticket. And we do an event for 3 hours, and we aim to fill the event with 100 people. Or, it's putting up some more classes on the Teachable School that are low dollar, like $49, $59, and you guys take it when you have lifetime access to it, whatever. So, because me working like one-on-one with individual humans, it exhausts me at this point. I can't do it anymore,
And there's
just
too many
because of the nature. Tracy can do it and Karen can do it. They're certified coaches. We also have 2 or 3 other certified coaches. So we definitely, as we walk into the future and we're doing more and you're listening more and you want extra help, we definitely will have recommended coaches. It's just not my highest and best use anymore. My highest and best use now at this point is to talk to as many of you as I can in a moment or an hour or whatever. It has to be more impactful work for me personally. So that's one of the things that I've seen. So in the regard of the work that you guys can be doing to set yourselves up for a different type of a new year, this workbook is good. It's got some good questions in it. There's a piece that kind of takes you through 2023, asking you questions like, what do you want? What's in your way of what you want? When I listed out what I wanted, and I read this to Karen yesterday, and what's in my way, I'm in my way. I'm in my way because of limited conversations that I have from the past. I'm in my way because of my inability to just jump off the cliff when I know it's time to jump. In all honesty, we're all just the only thing really that's in our way. So Missy wants to make a vision board. Vision boards are great. Picturing your prosperity visually is a really important tool. We talk about that a lot. Listing out, your manifestation list, your elimination list, all those things. And we'll, as we get into the new year, we'll continue to talk about all this stuff. There's questions in here about, what are the old stories that you're telling yourself? What are the stories that you need to change? What's been working in 2023? What hasn't worked? What isn't working that you're not shifting, right? That question would have been helpful for me to look at a few weeks ago before I tweaked myself.
The old stories one is really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like what old stories are you telling yourself?
Oh, yeah.
What are you telling yourself? I have a couple, of my own. What are you telling yourself that's limiting you? And why? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, right. Out of all the things you could tell yourself, why are you telling yourself that?
Yeah, I mean, really, like
pick something new. Make it up.
I have a problem seeing my worth and my value. And that's really where, like, if I really saw my value the way that other people do, I would have made this change easily a long time ago and would have known that, whatever I'm going to forage into the future will just work like it always has. But I don't perceive myself the way that a lot of you perceive me. I am still, in my mind, in some ways, I am still like that poor, the girl that grew up poor who got clothes from the Salvation Army and isn't sure, if she can do what she thinks she can do.
Yep.
Oceana's telling me to call her and she'll remind me. She's known me since I was 16, most of my life. Tracy has too. The issue there is when you have those, when you believe that about, when you have that story and you don't recognize that it's just a story, it's not the truth about you, and that you need to change. Oceana, when I was 12, she knew me when I was 12. She was at the beginning of when I started. Her father is who turned my mother on to the work, all of the work. And we did it together. She's a little bit older than I am, so she was like a big sister to me. But we, if anyone knows that whole history, it's her for sure. When you don't recognize that it's time to shift a story, that's really going to get in your way. When you don't believe, what the truth about you, I love you too. When you don't see when you don't see the truth about you, when you instead see the story that is
Yeah.
from the past, then you are really standing in the way of your own greatness. You are also standing in the way of the gift that you really are to the world. Because let me tell you, if you are watching this show right now, if you are involved in my work in any way, shape, or form, you are for a reason. There is something that we have to do. And you are all meant to do your part, and I am meant to ignite you to do whatever is yours to do. I'm an igniter. That's what I do. I'm a catalyst.
I think the hardest thing also is when, like you just said, we can see what's in the way of them, and if they can't see it, it's hard for them to make a shift, right? And like you said, it's debilitating to continue to stay where you are, and it's almost like you have to shake it up and shake it up and shake it up to shake off all the comfort, right? To take off the cozy sweater, to take off the
Right.
complacency and the same and the normal and just jump. It's almost like you just have to jump off the diving board. Just jump.
Right. Jump off the cliff. Like I said, you got to jump. You just got to go. You got to go. All right. We're coming up on time. So if I had something to leave you guys with, I would leave you with print out that workbook and start thinking about some of these questions. Think about the old stories that you want to change. Think about the things that you want to be different. Let's just make a pact together that 2024 is going to be the year that we really step out into our own authority and our own, greatness and our own version of the divine's plan for us, whatever that is. And we'll be back next Saturday so we can continue this conversation. If you have anything that you want to add to it or whatever, you can always email me. We have a blank slate for 2024. So, let's really continue to talk about how we make that different.
Yeah.
And how we support each other to make it different. And obviously one of the ways that we can do this is, as I can keep doing the show on Saturday mornings, which, the show is really for me, just so you know. And that's what I realized when I stopped doing it every week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care if anybody watches it or not. I'm doing it because I feel like I want to share what I've learned over all these years, and I want it to help somebody. And if it helps one person or it helps a million people, like, cool. But what I care about is that it's out there, and that's why I do it. And I realized that that's who I am, and that's what I need to be doing. And the rest of it is like, how I pay the bills. But this is really what my work is this, what we do through this show and whatever comes from that, the virtual events we come up with this year, and, maybe some teachable classes that we put up and things like that. So, yeah, I miss you. There's a crew of you that's usually here with me. And, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I wonder how you are, and I wonder how things are going. And I wonder, like, and I know that some of you start your week with this show, or you were, and maybe it's impacted you that hasn't been here. So that's one of the reasons that I also want to bring it back. It reminds me of what I'm supposed to do in the world. And so for me, it's my weekly reminder of what really matters. So I'm on page 6. I have a long way to go, but I have it, and I'm going to keep working through it, and we'll talk about, and I think my ladies here have it as well. So we're all going to continue to work through it, and we'll continue this discussion next Saturday morning. You guys, anything you want to say before we go?
No, I'd love to hear some input from the ladies on what it is that they're working on, what's in their way, how can we as collectively support each other? Maybe somebody's gone through something that I need to hear a piece of information on, or
and so the group, right, is a great way for them to do that, because the group, the coffee chat group that we have, is not public. So whatever you post in there only goes to the group. And there's about 250 people in the group so far. But one of our goals this year is we really want to build that group up into the place where you guys can support each other, you know, as we're talking through all this stuff. Because when we post stuff on the public page, like, anybody in the world can see that. But in the group, it's a more private way to converse. So we would encourage you. We are going to start you know, talking about that group. We want you to share in there, because it's like the group is useless if you guys aren't utilizing it. I mean, it's nice for Tracy and Karen and I to put stuff in there, and Kim, but like, we really want to hear from you. We're trying to make that your vehicle to be able to get support. You know, a client that I was talking to yesterday said, I love when you do virtual like classes and stuff, because I get the camaraderie of the other people in there. So that's why I want to do more virtual events this year. And I haven't figured out if we do like big webinars, but I think maybe we do like a virtual event where we only take like maybe 25 people, and then people can talk to each other. And so maybe that will be like a $200 ticket for like a 3 or 4 hour thing with the three of us, you know, and then maybe we'll do a bigger webinar that's maybe even free, and, you know, we'll do it for an hour. And that's where we'll start a deeper conversation, and then we'll funnel it down. Or, you know, my goal is, this brand costs me out of pocket some money every month. And my goal is to try to figure out how to let it monetize itself so it pays for itself. Because as I cut things away here and figure out the future, that's going to, whatever, you get the picture. Yeah. So the things that I can figure out to actually help this, you know, help the thing pay for itself and keep rolling. And yeah, so I'm figuring it out. Tracy and Karen are helping me. Kim's helping me. We'll figure it out. Anyway, Karen, anything? We went a little past time.
I have a ton of background noise, but no, I think for the workbook, just diving into what questions are the hardest, but saving those for last. That's what I've been working on.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, the first question is the hardest.
Is it?
I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, that one was easy for me. My hardest one right now is, well, the 5 old stories. I got that one. And then the question, what's been working in 2023? And that kind of stumped me. I was like,
oh, we don't know.
I was like, is anything working? Like, really? So I got 3 things. I got 3 things so far. So that's where I am. I'm actually on page 7. So I'll keep working my way through it, and we'll share it with you guys. I think we're also going to do our giveaways again. Remember, we used to like give away a t-shirt, and like, we haven't done that in a while. And I think there's probably another book or 2 that I want to put out. And Tracy and Karen and I are talking about how to take my mother's work and turn it into something. Yep. So we're, you know, what me making this shift with the other stuff is going to allow is time for me to actually think about how to serve this audience better. That's where I really haven't had the time. I haven't written anything in quite some time, because I just have been fraught up with everyone else's stuff, you know, of the work so that's the shift for me, is about trying to figure out how to serve what I love, which is you guys, you know, better, and give you more opportunities. You know, we want to give a lot of low ticket opportunities, and have this brand make money on volume, and not on, you know, I'm not interested in charging anyone thousands of dollars to work with me. I'm more interested in, you know, $100 ticket or something, and have, you know, 40 or 50 of you or something. Look, Trace, your duct tape suitcase story really impacted my life. That's awesome. I love it. That's great, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing that. Yep. That's one of my favorite stories too.
Yep.
Yeah. And that, you know, that was a huge moment for Tracy. That was a huge moment.
It's an example of, we can't see it and we justify why we do it.
Yeah.
I had a justification of why I did it, and I didn't see where it was hindering me. So I'm sure that some of you out there are doing things that you can't even see that are hindering you. And it takes somebody else to say, wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
I met with Kendra Hall Thursday, right? I met with Kendra Hall Thursday for a 1-hour session. And I was talking to her about, you know, kind of my rebranding, and asked her what she saw about what I do. And she's like, you are able to walk into a situation and see what doesn't work. And then you are able to point people to the way to make it work. And she said, you know, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can just go into something and see all the ways that it's not working. And she's like, you can do that in someone's life, and you can do it in a business, and that's a gift. And she's like, we have to figure out how to tell that story of what you do. Because she said, you know, that tagline, driving change, like that's not enough. You know, what you do is you take people from like a fixed perspective where they're stuck, and you open up into a growth possibility. You open them into a growth possibility. So Karen and I are still like working on that. Like we got to figure out the language. Oceana's reminding me it's right in my chart. I have like 9 planets in Virgo or something. It's like, it's crazy what my chart looks like. Everything is centered in like one thing, because I clearly have like one purpose. Okay, so that's what we want to do, right? That's what we want. That's what we want the Apply Happiness brand to do. We want it to show you, where are you stuck? And we want to then show you avenues for moving past the stuckness and into like a way to grow and a way to be free of what's catching you up. And so you guys are going to be very much in the front seat of me figuring all this out, and us cleaning up brands and names and pushing things forward. And I could wait till it was all together and it was all perfect and then present it with a nice bow, but that's not my style with you guys. So you're going to be right there with me, and we're going to figure it out. And I'll be asking for your input and feedback as we go along. So if we have impacted you positively, I'd love to hear that in an email. We'd love to hear about that so that we can make it part of our new site, to tell people, you know, about how you've been impacted by the show, by Tracy, by Karen, by myself, by conversations. We'd love to hear about it. And Tracy's dropping my email address in there. So I'd love to hear your stories. I have a fair amount of you have written to me over the years. We'd love to hear more. Yeah, so that's what's new. And we went way over time, so I apologize, but we haven't seen you in a few weeks, and it feels like I've lived 2 years since I saw you last. So there was a lot of things to share, and we'll be back next Saturday. So we'll see you then. All right. Bye, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.
All right.